Okay, for the love of Pete, you establishment people who have been there, who've been working in administrations and in academia and were the civility politics centrism, small L liberalism, work across the aisle people, you people who cannot grow and change with the times, you have got to shut the fuck up for the love of God. Okay, obviously, one example we've been talking about lately is Ezra Klein and whoever the other dude is that wrote the book with him, The Abundance Agenda. He also just came out with this article about Charlie Kirk after he died, and it's just like every time he opens his mouth, he just makes everything worse. You cannot keep packaging what we've been doing, repackaging it, putting a new label on it, and saying, this is the way forward. Boo, we've been doing it that way this whole time, and it didn't work. Calling it something new, putting a shiny spin on it, is not going to help. So the latest that's got me up in arms is Cass Sunstein, who was, I think he's doing like a poli-sci professor, maybe a law professor. He's worked for Obama, Biden. He's been around in professional politics and in academia and whatnot. And he has a new book called On Liberalism, where he talks about a full-throated defense of liberalism. And I hear you, bud. I think we should be doing a defense of liberalism. But we need to be doing it properly, because here's the thing. Democrats have kind of been trying to do a defense of liberalism, right? When we pointed out, or they pointed out, that, Donald Trump was going to destroy all these things, and people were like, well, those things haven't been working for me. What Democrats needed to do, Democrats, Never Trumpers, all these folks needed to do was explain why we need those systems and why they're good and how we can work to fix what's broken and change, do something new for something that's beyond repair. But they didn't do that. They just shook their fist and were like, but he's this and he is that, obviously, but that message didn't work now, did it? So my argument here is that if you really truly want to defend liberalism, then what you're doing is the opposite of that. Because you're not making a good, cohesive argument, you're actually making a very bad argument. And by you volunteering as tribute to do the argument and doing it so fucking poorly, you're only gonna make things worse. Okay? Okay. So, a few narratives that are going around, and partially from this book, partially from recent events. So in this book, basically, Sunstein, he defines liberalism, which is small L liberalism is what we're all supposed to be, basically, as Americans. That's basically the American ethos. It's like, free speech and pluralism and human rights and, all that good stuff, rule of law, and we're all supposed to be on board with that, except there's one party that has worked for at least for the last 5 decades, and we're just talking about modern politics. The parties have switched historically, yes, but we're talking about the last 5 decades of what Republicans have been doing. They haven't been doing that. And the civil folks, the small L liberal civil folks, respectability, work across the aisle folks, they haven't been effective in combating what the Republicans have been doing, even though it's been pretty obvious what they've been doing for a long time, and the last 10 years it's been naked and plain. I mean, the hoods are off, right? So I don't understand where you summon the nerve, Mr. Sunstein, to now think you were the man for this moment. When, if you had any self-awareness, I don't know, I think you'd probably realize you need to sit down and shut the fuck up. So, he argues in this book that we need to include people who he previously thought were his political foes, like, say, a Reagan. It's like, I'm sorry, if you're arguing for small L liberalism and a defense of small L liberalism, basically like a PR campaign to re-educate the American populace, to explain why this is the way we've done things, it needs to continue to be the way we've done things, why are you including Reagan in your big tent? It's not as bad as the people who think that Trump is so different than Reagan, but it's pretty close, because Trump is Reagan concentrate. He's just not as good at the job as Reagan. Reagan used his entire presidency to destroy the fundamentals of small L liberalism that we're all supposed to agree on, no matter what political flavor you identify as. We're all supposed to believe in this country in individual freedom and human rights. We're all supposed to agree that we don't have to agree, we just have to respect one another and not hurt one another. That's small L liberalism. But people like Reagan and the Republican Party for the last 5 decades have never subscribed to that belief. And they have worked to destroy that. So you could go on in this book and write hundreds of pages of the most eloquent, compelling arguments on behalf of liberalism. You ruin it all by including, and I'm just singling out Reagan. There are other people he mentions in the book that do not pass the test that he himself establishes. How are these people the brains of anything? You set out your own definition and your own argument and your own point of this whole thing, and then you immediately undermine it. Like, did you just sit down and write, I am a genius, here are my thoughts? Did you think about this at all? Because it seems like you didn't. Anyway, I guess I just really want to know, hold that thought, I'll be back. I guess I just really want to know, am I out of touch with America? Or did we get lost along the way? Or is it really just the people, the talking heads, the people high on their own supply who have failed this country for decades, who still think that they need to be part of, not just part of the conversation in how to fix it, but leading the charge with all the ideas? Like, is it me? Is it me? Because I don't think it is. I wholeheartedly believe that most Americans agree with what I'm about to say, and that the people running the joint, voting the way they're voting, that are controlling everything, that have us in this nightmare, are the minority. I believe that it is the bare minimum of what it means to be an American, that we all believe in freedom and pluralism, that we all believe in civil rights and human rights, that everyone deserves the same rights as everyone else, and that you're not allowed to use your rights to hurt other people. Right? That tax cuts aren't just a policy disagreement when you're using them in a way, you're weaponizing them in a way to make sure that the wealthy and the powerful, the elites, the corporations, get more money and have more ways by which they can cheat their workers. Deregulation has never in practice been a good thing for any of us. It's just been worded that way. But when you focus on deregulation, and by doing so, you allow corporations to again pay their workers less, but also to harm their workers, put their workers in danger, to harm the community around them, where maybe they have a workplace or factory or what have you. You want to deregulate so that big business can dump toxins into the local water supply. When did that become antithetical to what Americans stand for? And because that right there, that is what Reagan did. He allowed the wealthy and the elite to have all the little ways that their hands had been tied over the previous decades. He allowed all that to disappear so that they could dodge taxes, which they owe, because they cannot make their money without the infrastructure in this country. They need the electricity grid. They need the water. They need the sewage. They need the United States Postal Service. They need all these things, and they could not have made their money without them. But people like Reagan wanted to create an environment by which those people could benefit from the system and take the money that they owed the rest of us to pay into that system to maintain it and or expand it and keep that money for themselves. That's what people like Reagan did. To me, that is fundamentally anti-American. and fundamentally anti-small L liberalism. People like Reagan worked to make sure that Americans had fewer civil rights. Not just Reagan, and this was an agenda for all Republicans for the last 5 decades, but Reagan is really one of the key flashpoints of where a lot of this was accomplished. But people like Reagan were using him as a stand-in for all these Republicans who are heinous, who are supposed to be now in our fucking tent, when they don't want to be in our tent. They just want us to accept them in their tent so they can do whatever the fuck they want to, stabbing us in the back in the tent. Fuck you, you're not allowed in my tent. Anyway, people like that have worked to make sure that people who don't look like them or pray like them or whatever don't have the same rights as everyone else. Where did we abandon that as a standard for what it means to be an American? Am I so out of touch with reality here? Do my fellow Americans really think it's okay to deny people the right to vote because you don't like how they vote? Because I don't think my fellow Americans are cool with that. And while we're at it, while we're having this conversation, let's talk about Charlie Kirk. Because there seems to be this narrative that if people do and say heinous things, as long as they speak in a way that people can claim is civil, because he wasn't civil, if they speak in a way that people can claim is civil, then they're part of the solution. And if we don't say they're part of the solution, then we're the problem. It's not civil to debate whether or not other people get the same rights as you. That's not civil. And that's not, by the way, a valid debate. It's not a valid discussion. The bare minimum in America is everyone is allowed. Everyone gets the right to live unharmed as long as they're not hurting other people. Everyone in America is supposed to have the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as unalienable rights. Everyone in America is supposed to be able to have the right to vote. Everyone in America should be able to get married if they want to, not get married if they don't want to. Everyone in America should have the same rights. It doesn't matter your gender, your skin color, your sexuality, your religion. I thought that was the bare minimum baseline small L liberalism point of America. But in this argument for small L liberalism and how we need to defend small L liberalism, Sunstein's inviting in people who are not just don't believe those things, did the most damage to those things in recent America, in modern American history, with apparently no thought at all to what he was saying. I just wanted to tack on the Charlie Kirk bit at the end. It is not a valid discussion for a cis-het white Christian Nepo baby millionaire to discuss and debate whether or not other people get to have the same rights that he enjoys. That's not a valid debate, and that's not civil. It's inherently uncivil, and it's inherently violent. When you use your platform to actively work to get people elected, to take rights away from other people, that is not civil. Even if his language was civil, which it wasn't. Entrapping kids just out of high school when you're a 30-plus-year-old man who's been doing this professionally for over a decade, not civil. Using lies, propaganda, and disingenuous tactics, talking over people to try and make your argument because you can't make it any other way because you don't have a leg to stand on, that's not civil. Debating whether or not black people and trans people have the right to exist or enjoy the same civil liberties as white folk, that's not civil. And people like Ezra Klein and this Sunstein fellow, am I even saying his fucking name right? Sunstein. Sunstein? Well, I guess I should get it right if I'm going to say his name, huh? Sunstein. My bad. Pretty sure I said Sunstein at some point there. Ezra Klein and Sunstein and anyone else out here whitewashing Charlie Kirk's image and life's work and advocating to include monsters like Ronald Reagan in the tent. You're making the situation worse. You need to go sit somewhere in a room by yourself for a long time and meditate. Try to find some self-awareness. And if you can't find that self-awareness, just go away and shut up and stop contributing to the conversation, because all you're doing is throwing up roadblocks in front of progress. If you care about these issues at all, if you care about the future of the country and the people in it, you would not be doing the things you're doing. I don't believe that you people are just this stupid that you think you have all the answers, but I don't know, maybe you are. Either way, go away and stop talking. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments.